Good morning. I believe everybody has their tracking sheet in front of them. It's good to have all of our visitors here with us today. I know the passion and compassion that each of you share for this budget, so we'll go through it pretty quickly here. The only change since our committee met and we looked at the governor's suggestions are at 15.7.1 on page 1. That $30,000 that you see there, that is to clarify funding that was intended to follow services. So that's all that is. It's not a real change in dollars. I'll go back and start at the top of this page and we'll go through the changes that exist. And then if there are any questions, I'll give you a few minutes to look at it. If there are any questions, we'll talk about them. So 15.1.1, this is the program purpose statement. What that purpose statement does is it makes it more concise. It's the exact wording, except it's one sentence instead of two. The next 15.1.2, you'll see this in 3 different places on here, but this is a common change to the employee's retirement system. It's a one-time credit. Next, 15.2.1 is that same common change. 15.2.2 is for a program, Rockdale Cares. This was not added by the House budget, but it was put in for the Senate, and that is one service entity of which there are existing ones all across our state. So that is removing that $50,000 expense. It will not affect their service. 15.3.1, that is an internal transfer, which you will see again at 1511.1. 15.4.1 is the ERS, common change. And then 15.7 is what we discussed just a minute ago about the money following services. On page 2, 15.9.1 is an external transfer of funds to the Department of Community Health for foster care and adoption assistance served through a CMO. 15.11.1 will transfer the funds to Adult Forensic Services Program and properly align that budget. That is the transfer that I talked about on 15.3.1. Next, if we go to the Department of Human Services, that is page 4. 27.5.1. This will increase the funds to prevent the loss of 88 child support agents, the workload adjustment that replaces the federal incentive funds with state funds. This has a 1-to-2 match ratio, thus you see on the total funds the larger number. Then 27.6.1 under Child Welfare Services. This is 16 new positions in the Child Protective Services Intake Communications Center and includes salary only of $28,496, and each of those workers will be required to have a 4-year degree. 27.6.2 replaces the loss of Medicaid earnings. This is the result from the transfer to the CMO. It's a workload adjustment that replaces Medicaid funding with state funding. On page 5, 27.15.1, this is to increase telecommunications funding. DHS was shortchanged in the DHR breakup in telecommunications, and so this is a one-time influx of funds to fill that gap. 27.15.2 will be to provide funds for the development of revenue maximization, RevMax, Medicaid unit, to enroll the foster care members in managed care. It's partial salary for 8 employees, which will include 1 supervisor, 1 clerical, 6 eligibility workers. RevMax will be assisting children as the model shifts from fee-for-service to the CMO model, and the children will be enrolled within 48 hours, which is very important. On the next page, page 6, under vocational rehab, 27.25.1, this reflects a change in the name, and that name change is changing it from disability adjudication section to disability adjudication services. With that comes a realignment of the purpose statement too, which is 27.25.2. Under 27.26.1, an increase for funds in operations for the Georgia Industries for the Blind. They provide products and services sold in the federal marketplace. The instability right now within federal agencies, due to sequestration particularly, has resulted in a need for cheaper Georgia Industries for the Blind products. Thus, this one-time funding to bridge that gap. And on the next page, page 7, also under vocational rehab, 27.27.1 is an increase on projected expenditures, and this is dealing with Roosevelt Warm Spring Institute. You will see more on this when we look at 2015. This is one-time funds as this program begins to move to GRU in 15. The deficit, it will cover the deficit, the due diligence cost, and the annual leave payout. Under labor, there are no changes. Under the Veterans Services Department, there are no changes. And under the Governor's Office of Children and Families, there are no changes. So, to the committee members, I would ask you to take a look. If you have any questions, now is the time. I'll give you a couple of minutes. And then, yes, Representative Oliver. I believe that is so. It did not come under this. There was some discussion under the block grant hearing when that took place, but we'll look into it a little more for 15. Okay. Right. Well, I know as we began to work on the 14 budget last year, there were concerns due to sequestration, some of the cuts that were coming from that. So we will look into that important service. Any other questions or comments? If not, I will entertain a motion. Move to pass. Second by Representative Howard. Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed by like sign. Motion carries. Thank you so much.